Hey, welcome. Good morning. It is Thursday, actually Thursday noon. Welcome to Jersey Girl Wisdom, a place where hopefully you'll have some fun. You might learn something, but mostly you'll learn from all of my guests that spirituality is not something outside of ourselves or something that is saved for Buddhas and sages. It is about the life we live and the breath we breathe. So welcome. And today my guest is Mark Anthony Lord, and I'm so happy to have him. Mark, welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
I am so glad to be here. It's so great to be with you. It's been too long.
Yeah, well, we were able to connect a while ago on a few occasions, so that was kind of fun. And I have a little bit, you're a little bit of a rock star to me, and it's funny. I find that I've mostly invited people initially in my world and into the show that I've had a little bit of like uh, a little love affair with, quiet love affairs in the background, and your resume and your experiences and the history, and Mark, and I'll have him share more about it a little bit, is his vast experiences of being a dancer and a choreographer, and starting with agape and all the teachers that he's had, and opening a couple of communities, and being a minister of a unity community and a CSL community. It's like, okay, I'm afraid of this guy.
I know. Well, I'm 112 years old.
Yeah, apparently, with all the experience that you have. So I'm glad that you're here to share some of your enthusiasm for life, because that's one thing about you.
Yeah.
And I know the one thing that you and I share is just a love for being raw and being real.
Yes.
And that, that is definitely something that has mattered to me on this show. So I'm so glad you're here on New Thought Media Network, Jersey Girl Wisdom Show. So how are you? How is life?
I would say life is good. I've had my personal challenges with this year, family losses and things like that. So my family was personally hit more than once. Moved through that, but prayerful and faithful, and you know, um, doing what I do, which is keep my attention on the goodness of God, and that's not just words for
Yeah,
me. That's in everything.
right. Mark, give me 1 second. We're having a little trouble with my sound, so I'm going to put my headphones on.
Oh, okay.
Just bear with me as I switch over and remove the earrings. Such a girly thing, but I'll remove the earrings, and let's see if the studio has an easier time with this. Can you hear
Uh,
me okay?
you sound much better.
Ah, there we go. So good. Okay.
Yeah.
So one of the things that is happening in my life that I want you to speak to, if you don't mind, is that right now I have my feet in two communities and two different, not that different, but I'm the, as you know, the founding director of one a CSL community, and I'm currently the interim for a unity community.
Mm,
And there are places where that syncs up beautifully, and there are places where there are differences. And
yes.
since you are currently back in a unity pulpit, I was hoping you'd speak a little bit about what you have found out to be the differences, and how you meet up with that challenge, if you think of it as a challenge.
There are challenges. Give you a little history. I started with Unity when I was 14. I was at a church called Church of Today with Jack Boland, who was a huge rock and roll minister in the 80s. I was in the YOU program, and became a licensed Unity teacher when I was 28 years old. And then I moved to LA, found Agape, and then Agape introduced me to Science of Mind. So I say all of that to say I started with Unity.
Right.
So I do have a fondness in my heart for what it meant to me. Having had it in my teens and in my 20s, and it really did bless my life. It got me into 12-step recovery. It helped me heal my relationship with God. So for me, I think it's a little easier than I would guess a traditional CSL trained person who doesn't have that undergirding of understanding or personal experience of it.
Right.
So I feel grateful for that. And because I have both of them streaming inside of me very strongly, I do know the differences quite well. And
Mhm.
um, I'll speak of them and what I love about each. I love
Yeah.
about Unity the heart-centered devotion that they're more comfortable with. They experience God. They pray to God externally, which is very fundamentally different than
Mhm.
than science of mind. But they do it from a devotional, heart-centered place that is very beautiful. And I think there are times when praying to God, to the Holy Spirit, asking for a power greater than ourselves, to refer to 12-step work
Mhm.
also.
Mhm.
There's a time in our lives, in our spiritual development, where that is very beautiful and humbling and gives us a breath of, oh, I'm okay. I've got some power carrying me through this.
Mhm.
So there's a comfort there where CSL is very much the law, and I am that, and I declare this. And that's a very powerful way to pray and to approach life. But I think there's a shadow to that, because sometimes we don't know when to surrender or when to
Mm.
know when our I am is actually egoic based and
Mhm.
not centered in God. So there's two different approaches that way of doing it. Now, so I've come to love Centers for Spiritual Living and my training, because my training was tremendous with the practitioner training. I think there's nothing better. The ministerial school, I don't know much about the Unity Ministerial School, but what I do know is the prayer chaplain program in Unity is just a lighter, much, it's like a weekend training, maybe a little more than that.
Mhm.
And then they're kind of out there praying for people. And I have in Unity here in Naples really restructured that. And I was like, oh no, we're bringing in the practitioner training. And I created
Right.
a year-long program. And that's jarring for them
Yeah. Yep.
because
Yep.
because the language is different. But although it's the same principle, God is
Mhm.
within, but they just think about it differently.
Yeah. Mhm.
So I experience, the last thing I'll say is, I do experience CSL as being very strong with, we're here to really grow spiritually and become it and do it. And I think a lot of Unity churches like more the community socializing aspect of church
Mhm. Mhm.
with spiritual teaching sprinkled in there.
Right. Right. That's been my experience. I want to share a story with you. And if you're just tuning in, you're watching Mark Anthony Lord on the Jersey Girl Wisdom Show for New Thought, the New Thought Media Network station. So I want to share a story because I can remember at the end of my ministerial training, the Dr. David. Oh my God, I can't believe I forgot his name.
Dr. David.
Dr. David, who's passed away since, who was the president of RSI, and someone in here is going to write to me and tell me,
Oh,
how
I
could
know.
you be
Atlanta.
Walker, Walker,
Yeah, David
Walker.
Walker. Right.
And we were at the last of the training of the ministerial, the intensive they call it, and he was talking, and boy, when you were behind the scenes with him, he was a big personality, not unlike you in that capable to own the room, but behind the scenes he was this mush. And so he was teaching us, and I remember turning to him one day and I said to him, but Dr. David, I said, sometimes I really like to beseech God. And he looked at me, he says, I know, darling, I do too. Because I had one major healing one time when I just, in metaphorically naked, just said, God help me because I can't do it myself.
Yeah.
God, dear God, please help me. Which is, of course, as we know as CSL ministers, the antithesis, right, of what we teach and what we practice.
Yeah.
But in that moment of egoic nakedness and surrender was a download that changed me on the spot.
Amen. I gotta say amen because I get it. I get it, and that is something so profound. And when I was in India for one of my trips to India for a month, staying at an ashram, one of them like day 2 or 3, Jesus appears, not physically, but in my so loud and clear inside of me. I'm like having a conversation with Jesus. I was so resistant to that. I was like, no, no, no,
Mm.
no, wrong guy. I'm not, that's not me. And I had a very profound healing in my relationship with Jesus while I was in India, which I'm forever grateful for, not as my
Mm.
savior. I don't have any of that
Mhm.
stuff over it,
Mhm.
but that was an example of I didn't get that from my training in CSL. I just had that as a very mystical experience that I'm forever changed by.
Right, right, right. That's a
So
beautiful thing.
yeah.
Right. And the funny thing is what I know about CSL, depending upon how someone prays, I can track their history of where they came from, on which side of the old two organizations, because
Yeah.
there's definitely a cultural difference, right? And I definitely came out of the side where I was trained, it was much more methodical in law, but that didn't really work in me because I'm not that. I really am this person. I'm this Jersey
Mhm.
girl, you know? And but the thing about it, and I started training my practitioners that way, and sometimes I feel like I did them an injustice, and now I just want people to say, "Pray your heart,
Yeah. Yeah, I
pray
agree. It's
your
you
heart."
know, it's when I played piano as a child and I was a dancer. So I was, in technique classes my whole childhood, learning the scales and everything that I had to do to learn how to play the piano or how to dance. But then once the music hit, you have
Mhm.
to let the form fall away. You have to let the music take over. And that's the way I think of prayer is like we learn the formula, but we've got to let that formula take the background
Yeah.
as we really let the prayer pray us.
Well, I'm not a dancer or a musician, but from what I know, you don't even get to let go till until you are expert in the technique, right? Even the rock and rollers of all time, some of them are master musicians behind the scenes, but
Yeah,
you don't always know that when they're out there displaying their talents,
yeah,
which is a beautiful thing.
it is. An example of that on my resume, which I don't even talk about, I sang backup for Kenny Rogers. And what was amazing when we were on the road, prior to going on stage, we'd be in the green room and there'd be the band and the musicians, and they would do pretty hardcore jazz. and
Wow.
and Kenny was like a jazz guy, but you never saw that on stage because they were paying
Right.
him to sing "Lady" and to sing "The Gambler."
Right, 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 right. I'm sure that horrified him to some degree.
it, it it was challenging, but he got paid so well for it.
Yeah, I guess that could distract you from
Exactly.
your standards.
The
Sure.
music in the green room beforehand was like his living food. You know.
Hmm. I posted on Facebook today, inspired by something else, that I've had many teachers, and some of the people that you mention in your bio to me are people that have also inspired me. Michael Beckwith and Gay Hendricks and Richard Rohr for sure. And then you have a couple of others I don't. And then I pay attention to my first spiritual teacher. Her name was Rita, and I speak of her so with such love. And Frankie Timmers, a colleague who was a
Yes.
teacher. And these people, especially the women, including my eldest sister, these women in my life paved the way so I could be me.
Yeah.
Who was that for you, Mark?
Um. Well,
Like, who
I
gave you permission to be Mark?
I would definitely say it was that's an interesting question. Well, I do start. Michael Beckwith is my minister, and I don't even know fully why. I mean, there's just something in my heart. If he called me, I would go halfway around the world for him. I mean, I have a personal love affair with him in my heart, and I think of him, and I turn to him if I need to. Um, and I believe that what he gave me permission to be, and this is what I'm forever grateful for, is the minister who's alive with the fire in the belly and who just
Mm,
talks about God. Like he gave me permission because I like referencing quotes and referencing things, but one of the challenges is when New Thought people, I say it, they point to the pointer. They talk so much about Ernest Holmes, which is, of course, a divine being, no doubt, but they talk about him and his teaching, which is twice removed versus just pointing directly to God from ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Michael Beckwith did. Like, he purely channeled God the way he knew God.
Mm.
And that's what he gave me permission to
Mm.
do that.
I love that. I remember the first time seeing him in person. We were at the Avery Fisher Hall while the New York Science of Mind Center still had that theater. And I went because the Agape Choir was there. It was one of the times that they came in to go to the United Nations. And Michael was there. And I had not seen him live. And I'd never seen the choir. And before that moment, I didn't have a big love for the choir. I had only been introduced to them through some limited music, and it was like, yeah, okay. And I'll never forget that Sunday changed my life.
Yeah.
Because I could get emotional because I have a physical experience that's still alive in my body temple. And that's I know when someone's really been a teacher. Because when I speak about it, the recall comes up. And Michael speaks about how when you recall something, that it's an experience at a cellular level. And I remember hearing the choir, and I thought I had never heard anything like that before in my life.
Yeah.
And I remember watching Michael. I remember thinking his feet never touched the floor. And I was gaga over him and looking at that and thought, okay, I want to do that. Now,
yeah.
I can't do Michael.
No, but you could do the Jersey Girl.
I could do the Jersey Girl. But
yeah. What is beautiful?
He was a big part of why I did this.
Yeah, and what is beautiful, and I hope I would want more people to learn from him the way I did, is that they're unafraid of the passion. Now, they come from the Black church, and the Black church brings that full surrender. They bring the worship to the game. And in the New Thought world and Science of Mind, it's very heady, it's very intellectual, a little more white, if I may use that word just to frame it. And that, again, it's like I saw them do it in a way where they had the same principles, but they were activating, like you said, the feeling nature.
Right,
and I believe church is about moving the energy. We move, like I want people to leave being a part of a collective wave, an experience that happens, and also having their own individual piece of it that they take with them when they go.
Beautiful, beautiful. I just want to stop for a moment. If you're enjoying this show and meeting Mark and other people that we've had on the show recently, because I'm still the new kid on the block with New Thought Radio, I ask you to please consider putting New Thought Radio Network on your regular giving, your list of people that you give to. Even if it's small. If we want to be present in the world on a bigger platform, then we have to give to the organizations that are attempting to do it. I mean, give big at the holidays if you want, but give regularly. That's what will really support this radio station. So if you're listening, really, please consider supporting this radio station. So, Mark, those stories are beautiful. Thank you. So I have a couple of questions I want to ask you.
Yes.
And if you were going to start your life over again and you were not the talent that you are, you couldn't sing and you couldn't dance, what would you do? What else would you want to do?
What else would I do? Well, it would definitely still be in the creative world because that's all I know. I would definitely be either a hairstylist or
you have great hair.
I used to
you do good hair, Mark.
As a little boy, I was a little gay boy, and my little sister, who's 4 years younger than me, was my Barbie doll. She was my Barbie head, and she had big, beautiful blonde hair, and I would do her hair all the time.
Oh, fun.
That or interior designer, because I just love when color and symmetry and lines and design come together. It's just such a beautiful, it's so cool.
Ah, that's beautiful. Okay, thank you for that. Now, this next question, very often people start with, well, I don't really care about all that stuff. Just play with it for a moment.
Absolutely.
What 3 to 5 words, if you were to have a headstone, would you want on that headstone? People are going to walk by and they're going to see it. What are they going to know about your life and who you are?
Interesting. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to be very honest. Whatever word comes up inside me, I'm just going to say yes to. So the
Okay.
first word that rises up is awakened, teacher, servant, happy, and blessed beyond whatever he could imagine. It's all one word.
Got it. Beautiful.
So,
Okay.
because here's the deal. I want to answer that. Like, again, you call yourself the Jersey girl. I call myself, the fun thing is I'm the blue collar kid from Detroit. Like I grew up in a blue collar town, a blue collar gay boy from Detroit. It does not add up that I do what I do and I am who I am. So there's like some quantum leaps or something that happened. And because it's not linear, you can't go, he started here.
I have a suspicion. I have a suspicion because I really get that. And I think that's where you and I sync up. I am just so weepy lately. I think when you learn to love the self that you are, as you are, that's the quantum leap.
Yeah.
I think so. That couldn't have been easy growing up gay in the middle of that.
It was horrific. It was absolutely, I consider it to be traumatic and abuse. Like every day I tell people to not to get on this pain, but for people to understand, like every day of my childhood, I could not be me. Not a day off. Not a day off. There was a pretending that started when I was probably 4. And so that's a deep wound of every day pretending and not being yourself. And I was the type of person that took the rejection in and said, I'm the one that's wrong and I'm unlovable. Some people push it back and fight with the world, but I was the one who, for some reason, I just absorbed it. So yes, to have all of that transformed to where I deeply love myself and genuinely, like I really, really love myself, that I could sign out today and call that a good life.
Yeah. I really get that, and I actually do think that's what makes the difference. That's what makes the difference for some of us. A woman, a friend of mine, who's also a Unity minister, and for years and years and years, we grew up together. And all of a sudden, without really conferring, there was a period of time where we weren't talking very much. And she happened to go in the Unity direction, and I went in the CSL direction. And all of a sudden, we were talking to each other, like, "Oh my God, and then we both became ministers." Like there were in that high school, there were not 2 less likely people to be doing what we're doing. Yes. But I actually think that's the gem that I carry because I'm so normal. I'm so approachable. And what I used to say occasionally in when we were in person to certain people, I would say to them, I might be the only tequila shooting, sex loving, tattoo bearing person you're ever going to meet. Yeah. And that's where I wanted to meet people. The person who sold trucking for 18 years. So I could talk to truck drivers and I could talk to ministers.
Yes.
Because that's where we meet life, right? That's where we meet life.
It is beautiful. It is.
So I have one more question, and that is, share with us one of the most embarrassing moments of your life.
Embarrassing. Well, I think it would be when I was in a show. I was dancing in a show, and I put on the closing outfit, which was like a tuxedo kind of a piece. And I went out and I was in the front row dancing, and the music was playing, and we were all doing our thing. And the people in front of me in the audience, a big audience, like hundreds and hundreds of people. And the people in front of me were just really cheering and they appeared to be applauding and everything. And I was like thinking, man, I'm really good tonight. I'm really on. And the number ends, and we go backstage, and someone rushes over to me, and my pants had split right where the crotch is, straight down the front. I had no idea because I was dancing. And here's the saving grace. I had the moment where I was like, this just feels very tight to me. This feels very tight to me. And we had a costume tighter piece underneath that. So it was like even tighter. I thought I should just take all of it off and just go out with just the tuxedo on, like take my dance belt off. I was basically going to go out naked underneath this costume to make it a little more fitting, which thank you God I did not do. But nonetheless, the costume just ripped wide open. And the whole after party, everything that happened that night, it just was the conversation.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Yeah. So not a big deal now, but when you're like 27 years old and the world is so sensitive, it was embarrassing.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you've started 2 communities.
I did.
Yeah, what an amazing, how amazing is that? And for someone who doesn't know what that means, it's everything. It's everything to found a community.
Well,
you did it twice.
It's interesting because I have a dear friend, my friend Jared, who's a fundamental Christian minister in Chicago, and he's the one who gave me insight because in their movement, they have planting ministers. And I don't know if they even reference it in the Bible. It's a particular type of person who is really the starter. They're naturally the starter. They have the gumption, they have the energy, and they actually in their movement, when they spot one, they will pay this person to go around the country and plant. And we don't have that in our organization, but it gave me the awareness to go, oh, I do have the rare ability to go out onto a field, the open field, and go, all right, let's do church.
Okay.
And just do it. And I think that's one of the things our movements is lacking is people.
I was going to say, maybe we need to take that to, well, I know you're in Unity now, either for Unity or CSL, and maybe we should make that a thing.
Well, I think when we find someone that has that unique, because I've mentored over the last couple of years, I think 3, if not 4, but definitely I'm thinking of 3 ministers who graduated, founded a center, and within the year it closed.
Oh,
all 3 of them. And it's a different reasons for each of them. But I knew, knowing who I am and having done it, that they didn't have that thing that you need. There's balls. You need balls like nobody.
I would say you need ovaries, but the same thing.
Same thing. You need gumption, really. You need something that just says, I'm going to do this. And I do enjoy it. The first one went really big. And, I left that when God guided me to leave it. Second one is this, like, I feel like I had 2 babies. I never had physical babies, but I had 2 communities. Their personalities could not be more different. And I'm proud of them.
Love them both equally, I'm sure.
Totally. They need different things. They needed different things when I was birthing them. It's so interesting.
Right. So I once again want to thank you. We're coming to our time, and I want to again say that this is New Thought Media Network. I am Michelle Wadleigh, aka Rev Jersey Girl, and I believe that the thing that makes me unique in the world is my feistiness, and I know there's that little bit of feistiness in all of us, and definitely my good friend Mark here and I have enjoyed that about each other.
Yes.
Where behind the scenes you can hear us cussing like truck drivers, but don't tell anybody. And just kind of calling life what it is. May you have a glorious day. And Mark, is one last word to leave the audience with as the holiday season unfolds?
One last word. Believe. Believe.
Thank you for today.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here and having fun with me. And I'd love to have you come back. Will you come back?
I will come back and hang out with you anytime. This is easy. You make it very easy.
Oh, good. Easy is good. I love you. Be well, everybody. Continue to practice great self-care.
Yeah.
Stay slow. Everybody stay slow and conscious. We're going to get through this stuff together. Together.
Yeah.
I love you all. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, babe.